They tell us it's about democracy. They tell us it's about freedom. But what if I told you this war isn't what it seems? What if behind every missile strike, every shattered home, and every lost life lies a darker truth? A war fought not just for territory, but for trillions in resources, soaring corporate profits, and the ambitions of global power players? This isn't just about Ukraine. This is about control, exploitation, and a script written long before the first shot was fired. Welcome to Veil of Time, where we pull back the curtain on history's greatest deceptions. Tonight, we expose the players, the profits, and the price of a war that's cost more than we can imagine. Stay with us, because what you don't know could change everything. Ukraine, a nation at the crossroads of Europe and Asia, rich in history, culture, and resources. Beneath its fertile plains lies a wealth of minerals, including titanium, lithium, and rare earth elements, essential for modern industries. Estimates suggest that Ukraine's mineral wealth exceeds $12 trillion, positioning it as a key player in the global supply chain. Since gaining independence from the Soviet Union in 1991, Ukraine has navigated a delicate balance between its historical ties to Russia and aspirations for integration with Western Europe. This geopolitical tug-of-war set the stage for a series of events that would reshape the nation's future. In late 2013, President Viktor Yanukovych's decision to suspend an association agreement with the European Union ignited widespread protests, known as the Maidan movement. Demonstrators advocating for closer ties with Europe and an end to corruption occupied Kiev's Independence Square. The situation escalated into violent confrontations between protesters and security forces, leading to over 100 deaths. Amidst the turmoil, a leaked phone conversation between U.S. Assistant Secretary of State Victoria Nuland and Ambassador Jeffrey Pyatt surfaced. In the call, they discussed preferences for Ukraine's new leadership, with Nuland infamously remarking, "Far the EU," indicating a desire to influence the political outcome.
What do you think?
I think we're in play. The Klitschko piece is obviously the complicated electron here, especially the announcement of him as deputy prime minister. And you've seen some of my notes on the troubles in the marriage right now, so we're trying to get a read really fast on where he is on this stuff. But I think your argument to him, which you'll need to make, I think that's the next phone call we want to set up, is exactly the one you made to Yachts. And I'm glad you sort of put him on the spot on where he fits in this scenario. And I'm very glad he said what he said in response.
Good. So I don't think Klitsch should go into the government. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you think, what, in terms of him not going into the government, just let him sort of stay out and do his political homework and stuff. I'm just thinking in terms of sort of the process moving ahead, we want to keep the moderate Democrats together. The problem is going to be Tony Book and his guys. And, you know, I'm sure that's part of what Yanukovych is calculating on all of this.
I think Yachts is the guy who's got the economic experience, the governing experience. He's the guy, you know, what he needs is Klitsch and Tony Book on the outside. He needs to be talking to them 4 times a week.
The United States' involvement extended beyond diplomatic discussions. High-profile visits by U.S. officials, including Senator John McCain, who appeared alongside opposition leaders, signaled strong support for the protest movement. In February 2014, President Yanukovych fled Ukraine, and a new government was formed. Russia responded by annexing Crimea and supporting separatist movements in the Donbas region, leading to a conflict that has persisted for years. The Donbas, Ukraine's industrial heartland, is rich in coal, iron ore, and other minerals. Control over this resource-abundant area became a strategic objective for both Ukrainian forces and Russian-backed separatists. Following the conflict's escalation, the United States provided substantial financial and military assistance to Ukraine. In 2014, the U.S. committed over $1 billion in aid, including loan guarantees and non-lethal military equipment. In subsequent years, U.S. support expanded to include lethal aid, such as Javelin anti-tank missiles, aimed at bolstering Ukraine's defense capabilities against separatist forces and deterring further Russian aggression. In February 2022, Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine, marking a significant escalation in the conflict. Amidst the devastation, peace negotiations were initiated, with both sides reportedly close to a settlement that would have seen Ukraine declare neutrality and potentially cede certain territories. However, the proposed agreement fell through. Reports suggest that Western influences, particularly from the United States, played a role in persuading Ukraine to abandon the agreement in favor of continued resistance. But the conflict isn't just about geopolitics. Western corporations have seized the opportunity to capitalize on Ukraine's resources. In agriculture, giants like Cargill, Monsanto, and DuPont have invested heavily in Ukraine's fertile lands, gaining significant control over its food production. And it doesn't stop with agriculture. Financial powerhouses like BlackRock and JP Chase have been advising Ukraine on privatization efforts, targeting its infrastructure and lucrative mineral reserves. Their interests lie not just in rebuilding Ukraine, but in profiting from its recovery. Ukraine's reserves of lithium and rare earth elements, critical for renewable energy and tech industries, have also drawn global attention. Mining companies like European Lithium are vying for access to these valuable resources. Reports indicate that over 30% of Ukraine's farmland is now controlled by foreign corporations, leading to fears of economic colonization under the guise of investment. While corporations profit, Ukrainian farmers, now the backbone of the nation, find themselves increasingly marginalized. This raises a critical question. Are these deals about helping Ukraine or exploiting it? So is this about standing with Ukraine or standing on Ukraine? When corporations like BlackRock salivate over rebuilding, who is really being rebuilt? Ukrainian livelihoods or corporate profit margins? Fast forward to November 2024. Donald Trump wins the U.S. presidential election, promising to end the Ukraine conflict swiftly. His administration signals a shift in U.S. foreign policy, emphasizing negotiations over continued military support. Yet before leaving office, the Biden administration made a bold move, granting Ukraine permission to use U.S.-supplied missiles to target Russian territory directly. This marked a significant escalation in the conflict, sparking debates about the U.S.'s role in prolonging the war and the potential for a larger-scale confrontation. But while missiles are launched and billions are spent, who truly bears the weight of this war? It's not the politicians or the corporate executives, but ordinary Ukrainians. Teenagers thrust onto the battlefield, parents burying their children, and communities wiped out by shelling. The Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights estimates over 10,000 civilian deaths since the conflict began in 2022, with millions displaced both within Ukraine and across Europe. And it's not just Ukrainians paying the price. The ripple effects are felt worldwide: soaring energy prices, food shortages, and a growing divide between those pushing for continued military aid and those demanding peace. How long can the global community sustain this before the cost outweighs the perceived benefits? To date, the United States has provided over $113 billion in aid to Ukraine, while the European Union has contributed an additional 82 billion euros. Combined, that's nearly $200 billion and counting. Much of this funding has gone toward military aid, with a smaller portion allocated for humanitarian efforts and economic recovery. But where is all this money actually going? Critics argue that a significant portion of this aid benefits defense contractors, hedge funds, and foreign corporations more than it helps the Ukrainian people. Companies like Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, and Northrop Grumman have reported record profits thanks to the surge in arms shipments to Ukraine. Is this support truly altruistic, or is it a golden opportunity for the military-industrial complex? And amidst all this, the human cost continues to rise. Millions of Ukrainians have been displaced, and tens of thousands have lost their lives. How much of the billions in aid has gone directly to rebuilding homes, schools, or hospitals? And how much has been siphoned off into corporate pockets or prolonged military strategies? As George Carlin famously said, war is big business. And who's in the business of war? politicians, generals, and the corporations that bankroll them. Could this conflict be any clearer an example of that? Meanwhile, discussions of Ukraine's post-war recovery are already underway, led by institutions like BlackRock and JP Chase. Are these summits about helping Ukraine recover, or about securing lucrative contracts and privatizing key sectors of its economy? So what happens next? With billions of dollars and countless lives already lost, is this a path toward peace or a blueprint for exploitation? Ukraine's story is not just one of resilience and struggle, but also of global powers vying for control over its future. The question we must ask is, who will write the next chapter? The people of Ukraine, or the corporations and governments that stand to profit from their pain? Thank you for watching Veil of Time, where we dig beneath the surface to uncover hidden truths. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, question everything, because the truth is rarely what it seems.
What isn't said and the stuff between the lines that really jumps out at me. I mean, what's fascinating is that it wasn't that many weeks ago when Volodymyr Zelensky was talking about his victory plan, yet here he is now talking honestly and openly about hinting at some sort of potential form of negotiation and some sort of ceasefire. I think what's particularly struck about territory, because as a military guy, how are you going to get the territory back? He was less focused on that, much more focused on the people. He said, you know, what makes Ukraine isn't the territory, it's its people. We have to find a way to navigate a peaceful, secure their sovereignty. And I think that's the big issue. He talked about 300 years they've been fighting Russia, and therefore, and he quoted the Budapest Memorandum of 1994. It's not time for a history lesson, but the fact is that America, the UK, and Russia all guaranteed the security of Ukraine as long as they gave up its nuclear weapons. 20 years later, those words meant nothing.